Hello and welcome to the Leeds Up podcast. I'm James and I'm with Rocco Dean.
Hello.
And Darragh Cunningham.
Hello there.
We're catching up after the loss to Blackburn Rovers at Ewood Park, a very Leedsy result. Before we get into that, special thanks to Bass & Bligh for sponsoring the podcast. Bass & Bligh are based in Harrogate, North Yorkshire, where they stock a wide range of brands, including Canon, Fuji, Nikon and Sony. They sell tons of used equipment that's serviced with a warranty at brilliant prices. They offer services such as camera repairs as well. They have 100% 5-star rating on Google. I don't know if either of you knew that.
How many ratings?
I don't know. I'm gonna quickly check. You keep them busy.
While you're checking that, let's introduce Alessandro. He's
Give us a thought.
Typically,
Excellent.
the first time we do YouTube, and I'm home alone with him, my wife's out, and he can't sleep because he had a nightmare last night. So he's come downstairs. So, yeah, there you go.
You had the nightmares, Rocco, let's be honest.
I'm having the nightmares right now.
You had nightmares after that performance. But before we get into that, as you say, we're testing out YouTube for the first time. We thought we'd give it a go. So, listen or watch however you want. But we're going to test this, see how it goes, get some feedback, and we'll go from there. Last week on Friday night, we also chatted to Hayden Evans. There's a podcast out now. If anyone's not listened to it, it's on all good podcast providers. Rocco, you had a chance to listen to that? Thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought you two did great. Good to hear from Hayden. Because, like I said, it's been quite a while. And, yeah, really interesting chat. Obviously, the Archie Gray stuff was the big one. And, I mean, it sounded inevitable either way. Either we go up and he stays, or we don't go up and he goes. I don't know. For me, I still, he's moved to Spurs, but he's not even playing Premier League, is he? He's not gone to play Premier League football. Like Hayden said, yes, he's getting experience in the Europa League, but, 40-odd games in the Championship for us versus a few games in the Europa in the group stage. I don't know. Still annoys me, but hey-ho, it's done now, isn't it?
To be fair, it didn't do Phil Foden any harm, did it? There's different pathways, and I suppose Archie probably sees himself, and I'm sure his team see him as a top-class player, and every other top-class player at his age is playing at the highest level. So I can kind of get it. Don't like it, but I can get it.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, the other thing, actually, I wanted to say, it was quite telling how he spoke about Charlie Cresswell in terms of what his next move might be. Whereas Shackleton, he was talking about, a move to a top club in the Championship. Charlie, he was saying, maybe, top of League One or a Championship team. Yeah, I know a lot of people thought very highly of him. We didn't see much of him, but I mean, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? He's no Woodgate, shall we say. And yeah, maybe he'll come good. Obviously, he's having a great time in Toulouse. But I did think that was telling, because I think a lot of people, myself included, I wanted to see Cresswell giving a proper crack at the whip at Leeds, which he didn't get. But yeah, maybe that was a clue as to why.
Saying that though, Rocco, there's probably no harm in going to top of League One. There's two players who've done it and done quite well out of that. You look at Jack Clark, who dropped down to League One, now playing Premier League football, and the fellow who's playing behind him, Leif Davis, did the exact same thing.
Yeah, all very good points, and it still makes me sad about Archie, so we're moving on. And we referenced it on last week's podcast, but the Irish Whites flag is up in your house, Rocco. That's lovely to see.
Yeah, Alessandro kindly lent me it for this broadcast. Beautiful flag, isn't it? I don't see half of it, but
I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this, so you can tell me to cut this out if you want, Rocco. But what is your son's middle name?
Well, I've got a good story. My son's middle name is Marcelo, after Bielsa, of course.
Of course it is.
And when we went to get the Christmas tree this week, the guy was a Leeds fan. I was wearing my Leeds coat, and he mentioned it. So, we were chatting about Leeds, and I told Alessandro to tell him what his middle name was. And when he told him it was Marcelo, he was obviously over the moon. And we got an 8-foot tree for the price of a 7-footer. Thanks to
crying out loud. So anyone, if you go into a shop anywhere near Leeds, just tell them your middle name is Marcelo. Your parents had the foresight to name you Marcelo. And also, if you ever want to try and hack one of Rocco's accounts, what's your mother's maiden name as well, Rocco? We'll get the full set.
My year of birth.
To be honest, I think the funniest part of that was when Rocco told us that the guy had heard Alessandro's middle name, and straight away James came in and went, "It's Bielsa, isn't it? It's Bielsa. Of course it is."
I would love it if you just skipped Marcelo and went into Bielsa. But anyway, what are we like? We're a few minutes in and we're already talking about Bielsa, and we've not really got into anything.
No.
But yeah, I mean, we didn't record a podcast other than the Hayden interview after the Luton game, but that was a good result at home. Felt like a good business as usual win, and then steamrolls the weekend, a 1:30 kickoff. 1:30, horrible time. And I don't think we've got a very good record for sort of lunchtime-ish kickoffs as well.
I don't think we've won since Plymouth.
Yeah,
on a Saturday lunchtime. Well, I saw that we hadn't won since February, and I think that we might have been Plymouth. Yeah, I hate those kickoff times. Can't we just talk about Luton, because that was great?
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, the general mood, anger, the word philosophical is written here. These are your words, so I'm presuming the philosophicalness is coming from you, because I'm not quite sure I'm there yet.
Alas, no. Today I'm annoyed. I am going in kind of at least 1.5 footed on Farke today. I'm not a happy man.
Are you going in knee height that's maybe a red card? Or maybe not a red card, or should we come on to that a bit later?
That was definitely a red card, but let's come on to that later.
Go on then. Tell us what your frustrations are.
Oh, I'm just a bit sick of making excuses. I'm a bit sick of it. That every time it happens, and it happened last time. It happened was in the Millwall game, and we all said, "Oh look, we've seen this script before," and then lo and behold, 3-4 games later, we're watching it again. And you can't just keep making the excuse of, well, we're top of the league, so it's okay. The fact of the matter is, we're third in the league now. There's 2 teams who are ahead of us. Both of those teams aren't fit to scratch our backs, aren't fit to lace our boots. And neither of them, I don't think, have squads that can compare with us. So how are they doing better than us? In Sheffield United's case, they're 5 points better off than us. Now, they're 3 points better off than us, but they've had a 2-point deduction. So they've won 5 points more than us. That's significant at this point of the season. So
sound like Chris Wilder there. He loves talking about these 2 points, doesn't he?
He's right out.
Yeah,
he's right. Like there's not one player in the Burnley team or the Sheffield United team I think gets into Leeds best start 11. Not
agreed.
One. Right. So can we cut the crap then? Because what we keep saying is, Farke's doing a great job. I'm not convinced. I'm not saying I want rid of him. That's probably jumping the gun. But I think it's time for a little reality check. So what I did was, I went back and I listened to a podcast we did after Coventry City last season called Coventry Pity. And that Coventry game coincided with the Sunderland game. So we lost 1-0 to Sunderland, and then we had a hapless 1-1 draw against Coventry. And I listened back to it, and some of the points are very, very interesting. Now, some of them, there is also some improvements in this as well. So there is a bit of credit here. So actually a good bit of balance. So I went back and listened to it, and it appears that we were complaining quite a lot about Rutte. That the guy who was supposed to be the creative force in the team was awful. And one of the big problems he was doing was shooting straight at the goalkeeper. So that was one of our big criticisms, that Rutte had a few good chances and he hit it straight at the keeper. I was just
going to say, in the WhatsApp group, that was your... I won't repeat exactly what you said, Rocco, but I think that was the main thing that was irking you.
I was so angry at that. How can you make that decision just to blast that at the keeper? Just terrible. Just absolutely terrible finish. And I called him out, actually, for a terrible finish when he scored the winning goal against Swansea. And yeah, did it again, but didn't get lucky this time. I was fuming.
They were putting us under pressure then as well, because I think they'd hit the bar a few minutes before, and then that effort comes along and you think, there's a good chance for us to just slow their momentum down in this game. So yeah, it was really frustrating. Sorry, Darragh, back to you as well.
It was a bit of a gift as well. Like, he should have either side of the keeper, like just straight at the keeper. Terrible. But I had noted this game as being the blueprint for how to beat Leeds, and I said that I listened back to it. I said, you time waste, you kick us, and you put 11 men behind the ball, and what will happen is we will eventually give you up a gilt-edged chance. Yesterday's case, a penalty, and we'll waste our own chances, like kicking them straight at the keeper. I referenced Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham, Stoke, and then it was Sunderland at the time. What we were talking, one of the interesting things is, James, you brought up And it sounds like it was the first time we spoke about it on the pod, because we were probably only kind of getting into a pattern of it, was the 70th minute substitutions. And your question was, what's going on with these 70-minute substitutions? Why are we leaving it till 70 minutes all the time? And we all agreed that, yeah, probably should be looking at subs. And I'm going to come to that now in a few minutes. So that was a killer to listen to that. Now, what was interesting is one of the criticisms we had was about us passing side to side all the time and not actually penetrating. And I think we've actually eradicated that this season. So there has been some efforts by Farke to try to move forward with this. The other one we mentioned is that we don't score from dead balls, which I think we're a bit more dangerous with now. Certainly deliveries from Rothwell are far, far better than last season. And we never shoot from outside the box. So there's three things that, to be fair to Farke, he has addressed. You know, we don't just pass it side to side and side to side out anymore. We do tend to have a pop from outside the box, although don't score them too many yet, but we're getting there. And then the deliveries into the box and the dead balls are better. So there has been some improvements. But then we move on to we had a fairly big conversation about Peru playing number 9, because at that stage he was number 10. He was playing in the 10 and Ruter was playing up front. And Rocco, what was very interesting is you actually mentioned that you were on Leeds lately and someone had told you that Peru was not a Farke number 9.
Yeah.
Just remind us of that one.
I think just that, really. Yeah, it was Max on Leeds lately, and when we signed Peru, he was shocked. He didn't think he fitted the mould for what Farke wants from a 9. So I was like, I was completely baffled, really, that we signed a guy that wasn't. I think he was the number 9 for Swansea, and then we were just playing him 10. And I mean, Farke was absolutely at that point. Farke was completely adamant, that he wasn't going to play number 9. You know, that he was going to play number 10. Very odd, and it doesn't really add up in terms of the connected thinking that the club has had, because in the recruitment it's actually been almost faultless. It's one that I still can't get my head around to this day.
That's an interesting point, because we weren't linked with any strikers in the summer. It's not as if we had one that got away. So there was some form of decision made in the summer that we were happy enough with Bamford, Peru, and Joseph up front. I'm not putting all this on Peru. It's just interesting that everyone said there's no way Peru is a Farke number 9, and now he is Farke's number 9. Not entirely by choice, but obviously Joseph is misfiring. So that's interesting. So then I went back and I analysed all of the 1-0 defeats under Farke. And the reason I'm saying 1-0 defeats is because there's a pattern within those 1-0 defeats, and they're not all low blocks. Most of them are low blocks. I don't think we faced a low block on Saturday. I do think Blackburn kind of came at us a little bit. But it's still a 1-0 defeat whereby we're poor up front, we're really lacking in creativity. And there's a pattern you'll see now developing as I look through this. So what I looked at was the amount of shots we had on target in each game, the player ratings for the number 9s and the number 10s, and what time the subs were all made. So if we go back to Birmingham last season, right, that was the first one, John Eustace. So actually, interesting stat on John Eustace for you. I crunched the numbers on this. He's responsible for 3 out of the 8 of our 1-0 defeats. So he's 37% of all Farke's 1-0 defeats were inflicted by John Eustace. So going back to Birmingham last season, now look, the team was poor against Birmingham. Paveda and Gelhardt were starting. But if we look at the player ratings, so Paveda at 10 was a 5. By the way, I got his from Yorkshire Evening Post for the most part, Graham Smith. Yorkshire Evening Post, Paveda was a 5 at 10. Joffy was a 5 at 9. Forward to Stoke, Ruter somehow got an 8, but Peru got a 5. So your number 10 is getting a 5 both times. Then to Sunderland, Peru 5, Ruter 5. West Brom, Ruter 10, Peru 3.
10?
You what?
Did you say 10?
He said
Did I get that wrong?
Is it 3? 3.
No, what about the first guy?
Ruter. Ruter got a 4. You got a 4. 4 out of 10.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
The score is out of 10.
Now, for some reason, we couldn't find Blackburn Rovers last season, because every time I typed in Leeds v Blackburn, I kept getting yesterday's player ratings and I couldn't get it. So we looked on football before this race, and you have Ruter with a 7 and Peru with a 6.5, but I think they're probably scoring them a bit high.
Just
Video whack.
sorry to stop you with it because this is all really good and you're going to make a great point here. But I just want to point out this is great for those who have any sort of preconceived idea of the intelligence of Irish people when Rocco does what out of 10 means. You've been doing player ratings for how long, Rocco?
Yorkshire.
I've got no comeback.
Right, we keep going. Southampton, playoff final. Rooter gets 6, Peru gets a 5. Then skip forward to this season. Burnley, Brendan Aronson gets a 6. Major Joseph gets a 6. Millwall, Aronson gets a 7. Peru gets a 5. And Blackburn, Aronson gets a 3 for yesterday. And Peru gets a 4. Right? So what you're actually seeing is your average rating for your striker across those 8 games is less than 5 out of 10. And your average rating for your number 10, your creative force, is about 5. So it appears that when the axis between our 10 and our 9 breaks down, we cannot create. Because in all those games, we have 0 goals. In terms of shots on target, you're looking at 1, 3, 4, 2, 5, 2, 4, 3, 5. So not creating enough chances. Like Birmingham was 1 chance. West Brom was 2 shots on target. Southampton, playoff final, 2 shots on target. So there's a pattern here whereby your number 10 and your number 9 are not linking up and it's stifling the entire attack, which I think we saw with Brendan Aronson on the weekend when he was giving the ball away every 5 seconds. Now, on Brendan Aronson, people are starting to compare him to Rooter, so I went back and had a look at that. This time last season, Rooter had 4 goals and 9 assists. Brendan Aronson currently has 4 goals and 1 assist. He is not the same.
One that when he got tackled as well by Bogle. Was that a goal?
Did he just go, yeah, that's right, you did. Yeah, so that was his assist.
That was only assist.
So, there's a serious issue there. Now, this brings me back to Rocco's tweet. So Rocco tweeted out yesterday about, what was he tweeting, Rocco?
I said, I'll never be able to understand why people are so... Yeah, why people get so pissed off at the manager when the players have played so badly, basically, was my point.
I'll answer that from my perspective.
Yeah.
The reason I do is because I can't beat a player and pop it in from 30 yards. So the players can do stuff I can't do. But as I watch the game, I can see that Brendan Aronson is losing the ball every single time he gets it. And maybe there's a sub on the bench who can do better. And that's why I lay that blame on Farke. So looking at all these players and the player ratings of 5 and below 5, I had a look at when the subs came. When does the manager decide, right, look, you're not, it's just not happening for you today. No big deal. Let's take you off, make a change, see if someone else can do better. Because let's face it, at some of these ratings, 3s and 4s, I could probably come on and do better. I won't go through one by one, but 67 minutes, 70 minutes, 75 minutes, 60 minutes against West Brom, we made a triple substitution. 67, 66, 68, 72, 70, 66, 69. So it's basically 70 minutes all the time. So no matter how badly you are playing, no matter how much that is affecting the team, no matter how much you're not linking up, and to the detriment of his game plan, there is no attempt to sub you before 70 minutes. Now, I'm not saying subs are the only solution here, but it has to be part of the solution. There has to be a thing within a trigger within a manager to just say, look, it's half time, 35 minutes, whatever it might be, this ain't working. You're not having a great day, son. Come off, have a rest. Don't worry about it. Give someone else a run the team. So when we look at these stats, I think we can only blame Farke. Players will have off days. There will be bad opportunities. The only consistent here is Farke. That he's picking these players. He's giving them 70 minutes every time. He's watching them lose the ball and not create chances. As you say, 1 shot, 2 shots, 2 shots. Why isn't he being proactive in terms of his managerial input within game management? So I'm kind of sick of making excuses for him and sitting here and trying to be all philosophical and say, yeah, but we're top of the league. It was these results that cost us last season. And in fact, it cost us the playoff final. It was exactly the type of performance we put in yesterday that cost us the playoff final. And Hayden Evans even talked about it on Friday, about how he was disgusted really about how bad we'd gotten it wrong on that day. And we got it wrong again yesterday to the same effect, and yet first sub was made on 69 minutes. What the is going on? Lads, over to you.
That was a hell of a monologue, wasn't it? But I'm glad because you've done most of the work for us. It's like I agree with everything you're saying, Darragh. But yeah, it's frustrating to witness because not making a substitute earlier than that is a sign that you aren't reacting to what the game is telling you. And I think I listened back to the podcast you did the other week when I was ill, and you mentioned and you joked around as it was it Solomon scoring 2, but he still came off, didn't he? And you know, it was already pre-planned that was going to happen. You know, had nothing to do with the game, but it was all laughs and jokes because it was a positive result. We came away with a great thing, and that does mask over the issue a lot of the time. And I think we're so used to. I say so used to. We have the barometer of Marcelo Bielsa, and you know, we witnessed so many times him hooking players off if it wasn't working for the team. Like he hooked Calvin off, our best player, against Derby the start of that first season, and the whole game turned around. You know, we were a far better side and we went on to win it. It was like a really good result and a really good performance for us. So I think that's it for me. It's a frustration that everyone can see something needs to happen, but I'm like you, Darragh, I kind of want to know why. Like, what is the reason? You know, you must be able to see that it's not working and you're not changing anything tactically. So what are we doing is the ultimate question.
Yeah, even I actually, after my tweet, I started to feel a bit different, to be honest, because like my whole thing, well, I mean, I stand by it in respect of the players had such an appalling drop. Like, they're the ones that didn't turn up. Like, Farke did what he does. He set them out to win. You know, he's not set them up to lose. It's not what he's done from the start that why they've played bad. They've got to look at themselves. So I was more annoyed with the players. But then, yeah, you know, it is his job to fix it, you know, and you can say, well, okay, we're going to lose a certain amount of games because there's 46 games in the championship and, you know, that's what happens. Every team does. But yeah, it is his job. It's his job to sort it out, and he's got the squad to do so. So probably it's fair enough when those players do have off days, he's got to be sorting it quicker because it does feel inevitable when, you know, these games.
We seem to go in on ourselves a little bit when we play against really physical sides. We sort of disappear, almost like we're scared to play our more free-flowing side of our attacking football. And Blackburn is just one of those sides where just, you know, a few challenges go in. Some players maybe aren't as good in that kind of environment as others. Brendan Aronson, for one, I think, you know, and that's why he kind of goes missing in those sort of games. Yeah, and on Brendan Aronson, I do completely agree with you that it just doesn't feel like a 10 for me. Like he does his bit in the games where we come out on top, where it fits, you know, and he'll buzz around and he'll defend well, but he's not a playmaker. And in those sort of games, like you say, again, Darragh, the pivot is between them two, the striker and your 10, and you need him to perform because it was not coming from anywhere else as well.
Well, my whole thing on Aronson is just his quality on the ball and his decision making. Like, everyone goes on about running around, but like, if Farke honestly thinks the number 10 position is about running around, then play Dan James there. If that's what it's all about, no one works harder than Dan James. You put Dan James in the 10 and tell him chase everything, harry everything. He'll do every bit as good a job as Brendan Aronson in that respect, and he'll be better on the ball. But no one's going to do that.
He's played as a lone 9. He can definitely do that, can't he?
Yeah. And he just run, you know, get the keeper 35 yards out, about to kick it up the field, and Dan James will come flying in from the side at 400 miles an hour and take him out.
Yeah, I want him out of the team, 100%. I've been happy with him this season, as I've said. Thought he started off really well. I was really impressed, but yeah, he's been getting worse and worse for quite a few weeks. It made me laugh because on Radio Leeds after Wednesday, they were asking if it was his best game in a Leeds shirt, and I came away from that thinking that he'd done nothing, to be honest. We'd won 3-0, but not because of him. Not that he had a bad game, but yeah, I was still surprised to hear that. I think he's been in a lull for quite some time, and yeah, I'd like to see something different tried. But like, just in terms of like Farke, I think people need to like see the bigger picture with him. Like, I still think this is a minor thing, even though like when we lose, it seems like, you know, not making earlier changes costs us the match. it's a minor thing. I feel like it's like 10% of the job, or probably much less than that, actually. You know, the rest of the job he's doing incredible. Like he's almost perfect. You know, the signing of the players, you know, replacing the top class players that we lost, making them better players, fitting them straight into the system so seamlessly, having a system that works so well, at least at home. Away from home, to be fair, it needs to start working better. But, you know, everything that he does, his leadership, his calmness, you know, like there's so many things that when it's going well, you just take it for granted and you say, oh, well, Leeds should win the league. But that's because he's doing so well. He makes us think that we're so good. And that then comes on to the other thing. And it's just about perception. And I'm not saying I'm right. It just depends on what your thought process is. Should Leeds be walking the league? Why should there be? Like there's relegated teams with parachute payments as well that have just come down. Should we be happy to be competing with them at the top? Or, you know, having lost those players for all that money, should we be praising Farke for even being up there, for not having any sort of lull after the playoff final defeat? You know, we've seen that before. That's not happened whatsoever. So, yeah, what are you expecting? What should we expect? I honestly don't even know myself. Look at the squad. I feel like we should be running away with it. But then it's the Leeds thing as well, the extra pressure. It's a tough one. I don't think there's an answer, but I'm definitely a Farke fan. But I do also wish that he would, make some earlier changes and drop Aronson, basically, and not play Bamford again, please.
They're actually all really valid points. And I think it's important in terms of a balanced conversation to actually call him out for his praise, which is why I did say, you know, the three things he's changed from last season with regards to shots and long shots and dead balls, and the other one now, which kind of escapes me. But at the same time, I recognise that the stuff he's doing well. What I found interesting was, listening back to Coventry Pity, one of the big praises we had was Glenn Kamara. We raved about Glenn Kamara and how brilliant a player he was. And that's not to say that now that Tanaka's in, and again, full credit to Farke, he knows the German league, he got Tanaka. I'm not giving anyone else any credit for that. It's 100% well done to him. But now we've seen Tanaka, you wouldn't swap him for Kamara. So there's always that thing of, we're doing really well. Could we be doing a little bit better? I remember it with Kiko. People were going on about Kiko and he was a good keeper. And I remember saying to someone, you think he's a good keeper because you haven't seen it with a good keeper. But once we get a solid keeper, you'll think Kiko's crap. And I was right on that one. And, you know, Glenn Kamara, as good as he was, I don't think he was a bad player at all. But you take him out and there is an improvement, a fairly easy improvement. Because in all honesty, I think Rothwell and Tanaka are both better than him. So it does come to that thing of Farke of, you're doing really well, but would someone else do better? You know, we're third in the league. Now, I think it's lazy to say we should be running away with it. I'd never suggest that. But I think we should be better than 5 points off Sheffield United. I think we have a better squad than to be 5 points off Sheffield United. And I think if we don't look at it seriously, and I don't mean him seriously, I just mean the situation seriously of the 1-0s. We could end up in the exact same situation as last season, because that is what cost us. We beat Leicester. We beat Ipswich. We beat all the top teams. It was these poxy 1-0 defeats against lower half teams. That's what cost us.
I've got a hot take on the 2 points thing that Sheffield United had deducted. I think we're basically exactly the same boat because of that Portsmouth game. That was like 2 points deducted. Should have won that 4-3. First game of the season. Sheffield United won and got 1 point for it, effectively. We played Portsmouth at home, got 1 point. So, level pegging for me.
Yeah, we're a complicated beast, aren't we, Leeds United? I mean, that's half the battle for Farke, isn't it? Managing us as fans, you know, and he does. And we've said this before, Darragh, and you've said it and articulated it very well, in that he's a fantastic leader, and the question has always been around management. But I'm the same as you. I'm not questioning his management to the point where I want him gone, because I don't. I think he's right for where we are right now. But there's some real obvious improvements that could happen. And it doesn't even have to come from him. It's kind of giving the authority to coaching staff to say, in game, what do you think we should do? You know.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm basically venting a bit of frustration here. I want to be somewhat balanced and say I don't want him out. But I think I was balanced enough against after Millwall, where I was like, look, these things happen. And now it's like, no, I think the fan base actually like is not swaying, but we're allowed to have a bit of a rant and a bit of a rave from time to time. And I think it's important we do it.
I did a bit of research. Sheffield United, when they went up last time, they lost 11 games and they still got 91 points. 7 of the 11 games were 1-0. So we're 3 1-0s in. They got 7. So we're about on the right track.
That's how we measure it.
11 defeats is mad though, isn't it? And still get 91 points.
Yeah.
So,
that's the ultimate like positive spin. I like that. That's what we have to do as a podcast. It's like, well done. We've only got a few losses.
Yeah, but that same season, I think Burnley only lost like 3 games, didn't they? Something mental. Yeah, should we be doing that?
You've just reminded me actually, Rocco, because I did have a spreadsheet, and we used to go through it on the podcast, which was tracking per game what other teams had done in previous seasons when they've been promoted. I'll try to dig that out because it was interesting because you could see it week by week how it was. And Sheffield United that particular season had a mad run towards the end where they just won tons of games. And that's the thing, maybe our blips are happening now and maybe we are going to go on one of those runs. We had it last season when we had that all that wild travelling around a short period of time around the country, and we had a brilliant run. And other teams will slip up. It's a really long season, and if your squad is thin, then some teams are going to struggle. Where they look like they're flying now, it might cause them problems down the road. So,
yeah, I think as well. I mean, this is in the anti-Farke camp, but it does feel like when he sets us up away from home, there's been a lot of games where we've not really gone for it. Bristol City, West Brom. There are others, I can't think of them now, but. Yeah, I don't know. Is he just too cautious away? He wants to control the game and hope to nick a goal. And then, when the players aren't on song or they're missing their chances. And, we keep saying we're the best team in the league. We don't really have we need a better striker, really. I don't think one exists. And I don't think we're going to get one because Bamford's on a load of money. Peru cost a load of money. And we've got Joseph as well. So we're not going to get a striker. I said that at the end of last season. I want one, but it's not going to happen. And I think Farke knew his hands were tied and he's trying to do his best with Peru. And we need a 10 and we need a 9. So those people lose 1-0 sometimes.
But really, though, where the improvements are, or I say improvements of where we have been really effective is out wide and trying and gaining goals from elsewhere on the pitch. And that's where Peru has actually shone, is that, when you've had your wingers doing a lot of the good work and us breaking teams down, being effective in attack, he scores goals and he's doing what he needs to do. I think we're expecting something of him that he isn't, because when he's given those opportunities, he takes it. Like, he's a brilliant finisher. We've said it on the podcast before. If he gets 6-yard box or thereabouts, the keeper's got no chance. And that finish he made on the outside of his foot the other way, it was just brilliant. So I don't know. I think we can easily sort of descend into like everyone's shit. So we need a better version of everyone. But there's some real quality things in the team. I think, like you've said, Sheffield United. 7 games, 11 losses. 7 1-0 defeats, was it? Yeah, it happens, and that's how teams in this league will try and grind out results against the better sides.
I'm okay with Peru, to be quite honest. I've never really had an issue with that kind of lazy-ish striker, and I don't even think Peru is that lazy. I know he can go missing in games, but I do think that comes down to the service as well. Like,
he's just like Chris Wood. Like, Chris Wood wasn't lazy. He was there at the moments when he needed to be, and that's what Joel Peru is.
And if you're an attacking coach, you will tell your strikers, stay within the width of the box and stay up high, because that's where you score goals. You can drop deep and you can do all those lovely things. And if you have the ability and the mobility to do that, then all well and good, you'll be a 60, 70 million quid player. But for the most part, if you're anyway limited physically, which Peru clearly is, then stay within the width of the box, score some goals. So I've no issue with Peru. I think if he starts every game this season, he'll score 25 goals. What I'd like to see is others chipping in, and Aronson has a part to play. He's done okay this season, but he shouldn't be starting every game. He's not good enough to be starting every game. He's absolutely not good enough to start every game. We've had Kinnear on Square Ball saying that he believed that Ramazani, that Nonto, that Solomon could all play through the middle. Now, he's not picking the team, but I'm assuming he's having conversations with some of the coaching staff. So if it's true that those players can play through the middle, then let's give them a go. I know Ramazani had a chance, a few minutes, obviously 20 minutes yesterday, and unfortunately, after he scored his goal, which was disallowed, the ball started bouncing off him. Give him a run. Give him 3-4 games. It's very hard to come into a team, into a position for 20 minutes and make it your own. Like, you almost need your manager to put his arm around you and say, look, don't worry, play your game. You're going to be starting again next week. Because I'm not sure if you guys have ever been out of a team. I remember I played in a team and I knew the manager didn't fancy me. And every time I got the ball, I was like, if I do anything wrong here, I know he's going to use it as an excuse to drop me next week. So like, there's always that thing playing in the back of your head. Whereas if you're told, look, you're in for 3 or 4 games, let's give it a go. Like we did with Joseph at the start of the season, we said, look, he needs a run. He can't just have all the pressure on him. And, if he doesn't score in one game, he comes out. Give Ramazani a chance. He's a really exciting player. But really just give anyone but Brendan Aronson a start at 10 because he's doing me head in.
I shouldn't laugh, but it's doing my head in. I'm the same as what you said, Rocco. Like, I couldn't understand why everyone was raving about him in the week. It just didn't make sense to me because there were so many times where he just felt like he was losing the ball. He's good at that initial pick up of the ball, turning, and then he gets to the point he's like, what do I do?
There was that
and that's what we got frustrated with Rutter last year when he was trying to take on 3 or 4 players, same position, doing the exact same thing, and that's where we need to be more effective.
There was one midweek where I've not seen the replay to be fair, and it was the other end of the pitch, but like he was in the box. It looked like he was clean through, and like he tried to square it. It just seemed completely crazy, but just sums him up really. He's not been good enough these past few weeks.
On that one, actually, my 2 brothers were over for the Luton game, and we sit in the cheese wedge. Our season tickets are in the cheese wedge. So Steve and Shay were there, and I asked them about that exact chance. They said they couldn't understand why he shot, why he passed that. And apparently, Shay turned around to Steve and said, "I think we're going to have to admit that Darragh might be right about Brendan Aronson."
Well, I have to admit that after Wednesday, I turned from a Joseph man into a Peru man. I thought he had a great game, actually.
You were saying he wasn't good enough a minute ago.
Well, no, I don't think I wasn't saying he wasn't good enough. I was saying that. What was I saying? No, I was saying that he's not going to score 30 goals a season. Yeah, we don't have a 30 goal a season striker. We don't have a number 10. We've got players that we want to try there, but it's like square pegs in round holes until we see that they can actually do it. So we don't know.
Yeah,
and so to be expecting to do 100-point season because we are on course for 90 at the moment. So we're expecting more. And we don't have a goal machine that's going to, championship striker that's going to score 30 goals. Obviously they do exist. It happened for the best teams. We don't have that. We're sort of chopping and changing the strikers because no one's actually proven themselves good enough. And we've got Aronson at 10. But yeah, it's up to Farke to try someone else and hopefully make it a bit better.
We don't have a Schmodix or a Yorkes, is that his name?
Gyökeres.
I could never pronounce that.
I was just thinking of Kevin Phillips, really.
Yeah.
Although we would have a Gyökeres if Victor Orta thought he was worth 14 million.
Yeah, madness.
So he thought Gyökeres wasn't worth 14 million when he was the striker that we needed to keep us in the Premier League. So he went to spend 28 million on Rutter, who was a left winger at the time, who apparently, according to 3 different managers, wasn't Premier League ready.
This could descend, couldn't it? And Arnie Slot as well, another one we tried to get, another one that got away. And he was at Liverpool beat Man City today, didn't they? 2-0 at home. Six defeats in a row for Pep.
Rocco, you have a brother who's a Liverpool fan, and I have a nephew who's a Liverpool fan, and I've just been winding them up for the last few days, text them saying, which just goes to show that Klopp was completely overrated because Slot's able to come in there and not buy one player, and he's top of the league. So he just proves Klopp was crap all along.
Slot by nature, should I say. He's just managed to slot his way in there, hasn't he, and come out with some belt. I'm going to cut that out. That's crap, isn't it?
You're not allowed to take that out.
All right. Okay, I'll leave that in. Do we want to do player ratings and man of the match?
Nah.
Straight on to...
Would anyone want to listen to that?
Straight on to Derby County.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about that sending off that should have been. That was horrendous.
Yeah, that's true. It was horrendous.
That was really poor.
I'm going to put a screenshot on there now for anyone who's on YouTube. But the thing that blows my mind is the ref is next to him. It's like, where was he looking at that moment to have not seen that? And the amount of sort of Blackburn Rovers fans replying on our tweet or X post saying, it's a man's sport. It's like, oh, for crying out loud. It's like...
You can't put your studs into someone's knee. Like, that went out in the 70s. Like, even the way he lunged at him was weird. Like, I saw it in real time. I thought, 100% red card, right, here we go. Shocking. It was shocking.
We're on the last podcast, we were talking about those sorts of challenges, and if I hadn't have touched wood, he'd have broken Firpo's leg, but thankfully, I said there weren't leg breakers, and wasn't, was it?
Rocco going around touching wood.
Saw speaking of Firpo, I saw he looked at times he just wasn't kind of pressurizing in the game. I just thought he just looked a bit off it, and I saw Farke's comments that he'd been sort of basically training almost on his own because of the fixture runs that they'd had. So he wasn't likely to be kind of match fit going into this. I think him being slightly off was, well, you could see it.
I thought he was poor, actually, and it was his sloppy pass that Cantwell intercepted and went up in the air, and then Cantwell
that one,
one-on-one.
He just let him walk through.
What was he thinking?
Yeah.
Like, he was... Firpo was really poor, but I suppose we probably didn't have him. Well, no, I was going to say, we probably don't have another option because Byram's played so many games, but isn't that what Isaac Schmidt is for?
What did you think of the penalty?
Yeah, it was probably a penalty for me. It's soft, but you'd want it. If it was on us, you'd want it.
Yeah, none of it was shoulder, was it? It was all just to the thigh and hip, wasn't it? So Tanaka's got credit in the bank, hasn't he? Don't hold it against him.
Melee made a good attempt at saving it, I thought. I know he's got shit for never saving penalties, but got close to that one. Maybe next time, Milan. Come on, lad.
That's interesting you say that, actually. And again, I'm not a Melee hater. I actually quite like Melee. I thought he dived. I thought it was the dive of a keeper who didn't expect to save it. I think if he had a shot, right, I'm going this side. If this ball comes anywhere near this side, I'm going to get it. I think you go that bit early, you stretch fully. I think he was kind of like, I'm going this side, and sure, he'll probably go the other side. And then he went that side, it was nearly there. And I just think he didn't fully commit to it. Like, I think if he had really gone for it, he could have saved that. Because he obviously did guess the right side.
There's a lot of psychology in it, isn't there, with keepers and penalties? Because if you fully went for it and it did go the other way, you look even more stupid, don't you? Like sliding out the goal.
Hitting the corner flag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I saw a stat the other day. We saved 2 penalties since, was it like 2017? It was a Gary Monk season, I think. Sheffield Wednesday at home, Rob Green saved a penalty. So it might even have been 2016. And we've saved 2 penalties since then. And one of those was the Meslier save against West Ham, where Lingard scores the rebound anyway.
So we're due on then, is what you're saying. So
I think we're due 5 or 6, I think.
That's good. Yeah, so Derby County, you never know what you're going to get with Derby, do you? I think we should be winning that at home. It's the only thing that I ever think of when I think of Derby, unfortunately, now. I don't even think of the good old days of the 4-2 wins and that kind of thing. Falls at Frank Lampard, and Frank Lampard is back in the Championship this season as well.
Yeah.
So interested for him coming to Elland Road.
Didn't get a losing start, did he, sadly? Managed to scrape a 2-2 at home to Cardiff.
Get your money on Coventry going down, lads, because Mark Robbins was like, he was polishing players, he was getting rough players, turning them into superstars, he was building a new team every season, he was doing a great job. Lampard doesn't do that. Lampard, he needs top-level players to come in and save him from himself. So I think Coventry are going to sink like a stone now, and unfortunately, you know what? You get what you deserve, because Mark Robbins was a good manager.
I might go listen to Coventry that over the last few weeks and see if they've all been slagging off Robbins, wanting him out. Like, from afar, everyone thinks he's done incredible, but I bet they hate that he makes a sub every 65 minutes.
I guarantee you there's not a manager in the world who makes the same subs at the exact same minutes.
Oh dear. Well, Derby on paper, team newly promoted, had some rough seasons. We should be winning that, particularly given our home record. I think it's a great chance for us to bounce back, get some confidence going into the Borough game next week, which is a huge game because Borough are up there and playing well. I think that's the main one. It needs to be a bit of a stepping stone into that game where we're confident and up for the fight.
Well, I have another interesting stuff here. I didn't get time to crunch this one, but it is a bit of good news. Usually, not all the time, but more often than not, after a 1-0 defeat, we come out and win our next game by 2 or more clear goals.
Nice.
Sometimes I think there was a 3-0, a 4-1, a 2-0. We've come out and we've bounced back. We've shown bounce back ability after most of our 1-0 defeats. So fingers crossed.
So when we lose this one, if you just address all your emails to Darragh at aup@leedsthat.com, that's fine. We'll read them out. So yeah, I mean, that's probably it for this week. It's a lot of frustrations. It's still early in the season. Don't lose our heads. We had a wobble, didn't we? We've had a few little wobbles here, but it's good. It's healthy now. I think these things, you have to talk about them, because otherwise you can't just mask over it and pretend that everything's okay all the time. If you want to be the best, there's certain things that have to be tweaked, and Leeds are capable of being the best, but a few things have to change, which I think all fans feel that way. Yeah, good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, and if you've joined us on YouTube, hopefully it was fun for you. But yeah, we'll see you next time. We'll be here after the Derby game this weekend. Yeah, have a good week.